Welcome to Positive People Progressing. My name is Marty Dickinson, and this is episode number 9. My website is herenextyear.com. My other website is producemybook.com, which is responsible for my most recent book called Lions Always Win: How to Spot What You Want in Business and Life and Get It Too. And there's a line in this book that is solely responsible for this show, because somewhere in there I say, you become who you hang around. And it's so true. And it's so important to know that, especially in these crazy, chaotic times of COVID and civil unrest, and we're in an election year and all those things that can take us down depending on who you hang around and spend your time with. So I wanted to provide this one time every Wednesday for just 30 minutes where you get exposed to some positive people, real people, who are being progressive in their business and they are being positive about that direction. So that person today is Bob Regnerus. Bob, thanks so much for being with us today.
Awesome, Marty. Thanks for having me on the show. This is exciting. I'm number 9. I'm not number 1, but I'm in single digits. So this is great.
You are in single digits. So you will go down in infamy.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, I'm already thinking, gosh, I need to start a summit or something, because I have all these amazing people I'm bringing onto the show, and every single time there is some kind of nugget that is shared, at least one that is worth to somebody at least $1,000. So I mean, if you want to factor in your ROI and investment of time listening to these interviews, it's just amazing the content that's coming out of my guests. So I look forward to that. So just for those of you who do not know Bob, I'm going to give you a little bit more formal introduction, just so you know who and why I've brought him onto this show. Bob is a co-founder of a website called feedstories.com. Feedstories.com. So I'll ask him about that a little bit later.
Yep.
He's a digital marketing expert and author of 5 books, including a book launching on October 27th, which is the 4th edition of the Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising. And listen to these names he's with. I mean, co-authors are also Perry Marshall, Tom Maloch, and Mark Ingalls. So if you ever heard those names before, you are in very good company today with Bob being with us. So Bob, thanks again.
Oh, it's great to be on. And I should also mention there's some really big names inside the book that's not on the cover, like Ryan Dice, Jeff Walker, Dennis Yu, Larry Kim, so like you, I've been around and gotten to know a few people before they were famous, and I can still call them friends. And so I'm really glad that they also contributed their knowledge to this book. And just like you, I've interviewed them to kind of, supplement the book. So I love having this conversation. So glad to be with you today.
That's great. I first connected with Bob when he was telling me about his book, but then I saw a video that he produced, because I'm a beta reader for this book. So we going through it and giving a review and all that for the launch, which is why this is the scoop. This is my scoop for you, that this book is coming out in a couple of weeks. I mean, like a guaranteed bestseller everywhere. I can't wait for that to happen and be part of that launch. But I discovered from the video that Bob is a basketball coach. High school basketball coach. So we have that in common. We are both youth sports coaches. Yeah. And if I got this right, you married your high school sweetheart. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah. We've known each other for, I got to think now, it's like 34 years. We've been friends for 34 years. So yeah, we've been together for a long time. We were kids when we met.
That is so awesome. I also married my high school sweetheart, and the joke about it is that I didn't even like her at first. I became friends with her so that I could learn how to date her friends, because I was really
interested in that. Okay. You're a strategist. I love it.
It didn't work very well because I never dated them, but it took me a while to come around.
Oh, that's great. I love that story. Yeah. Marty, I actually, about the time I met my wife, I started coaching. Like, I was 16 years old when I had my first team. So I was coaching 8-year-old kids at a local parish. And I've just loved sports all my life. Like my name is Coach Bob or Coach Regnerus, and I'm meeting, I just was at a golf outing this weekend and a bunch of my former players were there. They're like in their 30s now, turning 40. They've got kids in school. Coaching was just something that I was drawn to. I love strategy. And I love kind of, studying the game and really like just how do you win? How do you, get better? And it's really interesting because I've taken that to the business world. Tactics and things like that are great, but what I love is fundamentals and strategy. So when you read the book, I talk, there's a lot of basketball analogies in there, forgive me.
Sure.
But I personally think that teams and people that are successful in life have fundamentals. I'm not like a hard line guy, but if you could pass, dribble, and shoot, you're going to be a really good basketball player. And so in my book and when I coach people, it's like, no, let's work on the passing, the dribbling, some of the fundamental stuff. So all the stuff in, you wrote a book too. A lot of things are going to change with Facebook and things are going to come along that we don't even know yet. I mean, 10 years ago, who would have known that Facebook would be a behemoth? But I learned fundamentals doing pay-per-click on Overture and GoTo and Google AdWords. And I was able to take those principles and those fundamentals and apply them. So I can learn things really fast. And so, I think no matter what comes along, people that know marketing fundamentals and paid traffic fundamentals they're going to adapt and evolve a lot quicker. So it's just really important to me.
You don't hear a lot of people talking about fundamentals when it comes to marketing. That's a really interesting parallel there and something that any coach can relate to. I mean, you take on any team and you're looking for a fast success. You want to go out there and win the first game, but you don't just get your team together and then go out there and play a game, right? I mean, there's always that preseason. There's always the transition between seasons. And my question for you is how the title of this session is Fast Cash with Facebook ads.
Yeah.
I mean, with that in mind, is that even a logical title? Should we even be after thinking that there's a possibility for true fast cash with Facebook ads?
Well, it's absolutely applicable, and it's because you're paying attention to fundamentals. So the thing we all hear these days are hacks, right? What's a hack? Give me the shortcut to things. Well, I'll give you a hack, which is it's based in fundamental strategic marketing vernacular, which is go after traffic that is more likely to convert than not. And in my opinion, and not in theory, but in practice, retargeting and going after warm traffic or even your customers is much more profitable than going after cold traffic. Now, I think we can all like go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And we all believe that and we all know that inherently. But why is it that most marketers, the first thing they do when they try to launch a product is they go right to cold traffic? Well, you're setting yourself up for disaster because you've got an untested market, an untested product, an untested offer. Like there's no forgiveness there. I mean, you got to really knock it out of the park to be able to take an offer to a cold market and be successful. So Perry, who co-authored the book with me, has this analogy, which I really love, which is, sail your ship in the harbor first where it's safe before you go out to the open seas. So this is a principle we follow with all our clients. We do some hands-on work as well, is let's test new offers to people that already know us. Let's work a customer list first. Let's work our prospect list first. And if it proves successful, now we can go into the uncharted waters and have a chance at scaling and converting cold traffic. So to me, yeah, it might be a hack or shortcut, but to me, fast cash is really like, hey, let's go after the low-hanging fruit first, all right? Get some data in, and then we could go out to the cold market.
Right. So with this type of topic, we're going to have three groups of listeners.
Okay.
Those who have never run a Facebook ad before. Mm-hmm. So they don't know what you're talking about when you say things like retargeting and cold traffic. So we need to get into a little more detail what that means. And
Okay.
then there's going to be the other group that is like, I know all this. And that's fine. I mean, there's
Yeah.
always something that somebody can learn, no matter how much you've learned in this business. There's always more. But then there's this big quadrant in the middle. And those are the people that they might have tried Facebook ads for a couple
Hmm.
times and maybe put like $20 into it and nothing happened and they stopped. And that was it. They're done. This doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
And then there's others that maybe they've gotten a little burned.
Yeah.
We've put some money into it and it's just not working. So we just need to be careful about this topic that we're
Yeah.
addressing all three groups. So I'd like to start more from the beginning and say, have you describe what retargeting is for people? How do you condense that instead of a 3-hour
Yeah.
workshop about retargeting into a couple of
Yeah.
sentences?
Well, look, we've all seen this, Marty. You go visit a site online. Let's say you go to we'll do sports. You go to a sporting goods site. You take a look at a pair of golf shoes, golf spikes, and you're like, okay, these are kind of nice. You don't buy them. You go, and you jump onto Facebook because you're going to see what your friends are doing, and all of a sudden you see an ad for those shoes in your news feed, the exact pair of shoes that you looked at, and there's a 15% coupon attached to that ad. That's retargeting. Retargeting is essentially a mechanism that's available on all the major platforms now, and it hasn't been around that long, but it's essentially because of a pixel or a piece of code on your website, your competitor's website, wherever website you visit, it allows you to reconnect with them and continue to market to them over time. And that's really kind of the basic principle of what I teach in the book, which is like, you don't have to convert them on the first click, which is what we had to do back in the day.
Right,
Let's not,
absolutely. Mhm.
right. It was always like, hey, we got to get their email address, because if we don't get their email address, we'll never get a hold of them again. Right. All right. Now we have the ability to reconnect with them in a very meaningful way. And we could get into that a little bit, but retargeting is essentially the ability for you to follow your prospects to all the devices and all the platforms that they visit. So if they go on Google, if they go on Facebook, if they go on Instagram, you're able to follow them. And if you're not creepy about it, it's one of the most profitable things you'll ever do with paid advertising.
Great. So how would you differentiate that from the other buzzword that everyone new to this concept would hear, which is AI? Can you describe that and tell what the commonality is and the difference?
Okay. Well, look, so that same piece of code is called the Facebook pixel. Google has their own conversion pixel. It essentially powers very powerful algorithms, artificial intelligence behind the scenes. Number one, what the pixel does is not only allows you to track your marketing and to do this retargeting, but it also creates data models. Facebook has a very powerful model of your ideal customers before you even run an ad. So Facebook knows if their pixel is installed, it knows how well your site converts, Marty, how well my site converts, how well Amazon converts. Any site that the pixel is on knows your conversion rate. And it also knows the type of people that convert, and it knows the types of things that you buy. So Marty, you and I are buying a lot of sporting stuff, right? I'm buying coaching shirts and all the things that I need for my other career. It also knows that I buy a lot of marketing books and things like that. It knows a lot about me, and it's reflected in my news feed. So Marty, your feed and those listing have different feeds than everybody else, and it's catered to what you most like, because Facebook wants you to spend a lot of time in their news feed. So it's going to continually show you content and ads that are most like you, and they're able to do that because of the Facebook pixel. So there's algorithms, artificial intelligence behind the scenes that is constantly modeling the perfect kind of customer for your business. So even before you run an ad, the first time you run an ad, you're going to have such a head start because they know exactly what your website is about, and they're going to know in general the type of person that is going to convert. And if you do everything right, if you read my book and figure out okay, here's the right dials and switches, you have a much better chance today of having a successful campaign than you did 5 years ago.
Oh, that's so well put. That's great. So, why? And you just went into my next question, that last sentence there, because it seems to me that today, right now, even with all this craziness that's happening, and this is why I wanted you on the show, because you're such a positive and forward thinking person. I mean, you're
Well,
you're
thank
just
you.
you're just going forward with all this stuff, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It makes me
Yeah.
think that today is the best time to get involved with Facebook ads. Or are we
Yeah.
too late? If you haven't gotten into Facebook ads by now, you're done. You're too late. It's just too
Hmm.
complex. Or is today the best time to start? What's your view on that?
Well, I'm going to be very honest. It's not the cheapest it's ever been. Now, March and April of this year, like a lot of people got really scared, Marty, and pulled out. And it was like we were like 6 years into the past, and things were very, very cheap. So I had a bunch of clients who were just very forward thinking, who made a lot of money in March and April because everybody else got scared.
Hmm.
But we're back to normal now. And as you and I are talking, it's October. You can go look on Facebook, by the way, to see how much your favorite politicians are spending on Facebook these days. So Facebook traffic is no longer cheap. It is not on sale. It is a mature, evolved media. Okay. And so what you really need to know is like, how do I navigate those waters? Because there's a lot of sharks out there. And, I like to say there's a lot of big dumb money out there. Now, big dumb money, we can kind of strategically get around it, but they do affect the cost of advertising. So there's a lot of factors that weigh on us. The other thing with a mature media is there's a lot of dials and switches, right? If people are maybe more familiar with like Google AdWords or some other platforms, there's so many switches, there's so many options, and they're really confusing. And quite frankly, the interface, I think, has gotten more complex and it hides things. So yeah, there's a lot of tripwires that can really mess you up. But here's the thing. What I like to do, and I teach in the book, is I'm giving you the 80-20. Like, I want you to focus in on these 20% of these switches so that you can get the same results that big dumb money is getting, or even beat them. So there's some things you could do strategically to kind of avoid all these landmines and tripwires. And so, yeah, you are in an environment where things are more expensive, but you can still be just waves and incredible. Like, you can be so much smarter than some of the big dumb advertisers. They don't care about performance. They have huge budgets, and all they care about is spending their budget. It's big brand advertising. There's no direct marketing component to it whatsoever. We need to be more strategic. We have limited budgets. We have performance, key indicators that we have to meet. So, it still comes down to this. I'm going to help you in this book, like really nail all the things inside to technically be really good. And then it comes down to, Marty, and you and I know this, we've been at this game, is like, do you have a good product? Do you have a good offer? All right. I think the biggest strategic move you can make as an advertiser is obviously having a very good product, but just being exceptionally good at connecting your product to your market. If you can tell a better story than everybody else, you are absolutely going to win in Facebook. And I've got story after story of people that do that and are currently do that. Even before I got on this call, we were talking about the success of a campaign because we told a better story than other people in that market.
Now, what do you mean by that? Because that's another question that people getting started with Facebook ads don't really think about, because they see the ads,
Mm-hmm.
they see the text that people write,
Mm-hmm.
but it really doesn't register as telling a story. It's more like, what hook do I have to provide to get people to go to my website? That's what people are thinking. What kind of snazzy, sexy graphic do I have to make people stop and click on that ad and go to my website? So sort
Yeah.
of tell us what that means. What do you mean by story?
Yeah. So what's interesting about a Facebook ad, and this is really unique to social media advertising, is there's a media or image component, and there's a written component or a copy component. The words on your ad we call that copy.
Mhm.
So there's two aspects to the ad. Now there's also a third aspect. Now you don't get this with TV commercials. You don't get this with print ads. Is that people can have running commentary on your advertising. Okay, so you've got this component of what's called social proof. And now you could have positive social proof, or you could have negative. You don't want to have a lot of negative social proof on your ad. But here's the deal. When you're looking through your newsfeed, I want you to think about how you use Facebook. You're scrolling through with your thumb, all right? And Facebook even uses this term, it's called thumb stopping content. Now, if you put an alarming image in there, you're gonna stop, okay? All right, so maybe you've got this like picture of a pink unicorn, okay? You're gonna stop. Now, does that pink unicorn, like, okay, you got them to stop. Now, does that connect somehow to your story and to your product? And probably not, unless you're selling pink unicorns. We certainly like to have our media, we like to use video a lot, but does your media, does your image start to tell the story that is going to connect your words to your offer, to your product, okay? So what we like with our videos is we pay a lot of attention, Marty, to the hook. The first 5-10 seconds of your video are really important. And when you talk about the ad, the first 3 lines of your ad are really important. So, humans are wired for story. And when you hear the words, once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, like we're trained as humans, right? We heard nursery rhymes, we heard all those things, once upon a time. Okay, we're wired for story. Some of the greatest teachers that have ever lived, philosophers, whatever, always use story. And you have to be well-versed in being able to tell a story and connect emotionally to your audience, right? I think most of us, Marty, we try to use logic. Like we think, I love this product. I developed this product. Like it's a great product. Everybody should buy this product. And here's the logical reasons why you should buy it. Yeah. Well, if you've been around marketing long enough, you know that logic only works for a small fraction of the market. Everybody else buys on emotion. So the best way for you to be successful at Facebook ads is, can I make my image or my media start a story? Can I tell and start a story at the beginning of my text and really make a case for like, hey, I want to get involved in your world. I understand the problem that you have, okay? Here's the other thing. A Facebook ad is you're interrupting them. I mean, it's like you walk into a party, all right? They have no idea who you are. You just barge into a party. You I'll go to my neighbor, or maybe I'll go to another neighborhood. I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of cars there. Right. I got a lot of customers potential customers in the house. I'm gonna barge into that party and start talking about my vacuum cleaner. Well, no, you're a pest. They want you out of there. Well, you're doing the same thing on Facebook. So you have a big job to do. You're interrupting them because they're looking at pictures of friends and people's dinners and graduations and birthday parties. And here you are trying to sell a vacuum cleaner. No, I mean, you've got to figure out like, hey, I got to interrupt them and I give them a good reason to stay tuned to me. People don't like it. People don't like ads in their Facebook news feed. It was novel in 2013 when it was like, oh, here's a great ad. No, the environment's much more difficult. So if you're not really good at connecting your story to your audience, you're going to have a lot of problems. So I really, the book is going to give you all the dials and switches you need and just follow those to the T. What I really want you to do is focus in on being a really good creative storyteller. And that's going to make you wildly successful in Facebook ads.
Yeah, there is always on these shows, I've been lowballing it. I keep saying $1,000 idea. That's like a $100,000 idea there. That might even be $1 million idea. That could even be a $10 million idea for somebody, just in that couple of minutes that you just explained.
Well, I'll tell you what, Marty, you're not exaggerating. I helped build a $10 million company off of a story. I tell that story in the book. Clients of mine, Amy and JD Krause, Amy developed a headband, just a simple headband made of spandex, lycra, whatever. But here's what we did. We created a really simple video, which is, hi, I'm Amy Krause. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a CrossFitter. And I had this problem. I was unable to exercise without the headband slipping off my head and the sweat was pouring in my eyes. So I sat down on my kitchen table and I sewed one and it actually worked. This headband works. We used that video for 3 years. In 2015, they became the Shopify Retailer of the Year. All right, they generated $10 million to that point. It was
That's
about
awesome.
$12 million. Okay. All based on a 30-second video that we shot on a cell phone that was not even 1080p. But what I told Amy, I mean, and this the company hadn't had any sales yet, and what I told her is like, you're going to get knocked off, but they're not going to be able to knock off your story. So we put her front and center, told her story, and she grew this amazing brand. Okay. That is the type of thing that you could do where you have a good product that fills a need and you create a story around that. And it's an authentic story. It's not generated. It generated millions of dollars for that business. So you were not exaggerating at none whatsoever.
That's awesome. What a story.
Yeah.
Can you believe that we are almost done with our session? I mean, 30
Oh,
minutes just flies by, and we could go on all day long with this topic, but we're not
I
going to.
could.
The whole idea here is I want to get people that introduced, well, I want to start off their day with somebody really positive, and you've done a fantastic job of that. I only have one more question for you because you really answered all the questions I had planned for for
Awesome.
today. I don't even have to ask
Awesome.
them. That's an amazing guest when you can do that. But I before I ask that final question, I'd like to give you the opportunity, because one of my missions in this program is to get people introduced to people that they should be connected with.
Yeah.
So I want to give that opportunity. How can people connect with you? How can they get the book? Give us a
Yeah.
little process for that. And if there's any kind of special offer you want to give people, now's the time. So that's what it's all about.
Well, I mean, the book is for sale at major retailers. It's going to be released October 27th. It's obviously available on Amazon. It's $25. I mean, this is a Facebook course. You know, I have $2,000 courses. I have $5,000 workshops. Like I put my heart and soul in this book for a year and a half. And if anyone has ever written a book, you know what it takes to do a really good book. This really is the ultimate guide. And I'm very proud of the material I put in. I'm proud that I've had some amazing marketers that are way smarter than me contribute to the book. If you go to ultimatefb.com, I have a link that goes directly to Amazon. But what's even better is, just like this interview that Marty and I are having, I've interviewed all the guest authors in the book. So I have 11 interviews on that site, and it's just kind of a bonus. And I talk with people like Jeff Walker and Ryan Dice and Perry Marshall. And in these interviews are not like your typical interviews. We get into some topics that they typically don't talk about because I'm their friend. So I had some grace with that. You can go there. There's a link directly to the book. Those bonus interviews are there. And all I ask for is an email address, of course, because I'd love to stay in contact with you. But I'd love to have people go visit ultimatefb.com, get the book. This is the type of book. I've got a couple books like this that sit at my desk side because they're reference books. This is a reference book for you as you work on Facebook ads. So whether you're a business owner, just learning, even if you're like an advanced Facebook marketer, there's things in the book that will be for you. So this is the type of book that you keep at your desk, and it's there to reference as you go through your working day. So appreciate you giving me a little bit of time to talk about that, Marty, because I'm really proud of what I put out.
Yeah, that's great, and you should be. That's a lot of work to put into that,
Yeah.
into kind of a book and the size of the book. And you said it's 400 something pages.
It's 450 pages. We were forced to cut 200 of the pages out. They're like, no, our budget only accounts for, yeah. So there's some bonus. If you do get the book, there's also a resource section in the book. We have a bunch of the lost chapters available to people and a bunch of bonus stuff. So
Sure.
that's available if you get the book, obviously.
So the bonuses alone are worth 1,000 times as much as the book. I mean, even those interviews. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about having this show be worth to somebody 1,000,
Yep.
10,000, maybe even $10 million. Now
Yep.
multiply that times all the authors they.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, whatever, knowledge is, has infinite value, and some people will hear something and apply it and it'll change their life. Some people will let it pass by. You and I we've been around for a while in this industry. It's because I think we have a level of humility. We learn from people that are smarter than us.
Yeah,
We take knowledge and we apply it.
Yeah, that's great. So, okay, that's awesome. And, I believe that, and one of the reasons that I started this show is I will always give a way for my viewers to connect with the guest. So there's always going to be an offer. There's always going to be something to go by because, I mean, if I just leave you hanging, now that you have all this great information, I say, okay, we're done. That's it. I mean,
Yeah,
what good does that do? This is just an
yeah,
introduction to Bob. I
yeah.
really encourage you to go get the book and help his book become a bestseller. And let's do it. Let's make it happen. And because it is a book, and because I'm so close to books and work with a lot of authors,
Yeah.
my last question for you is specifically about that. I've seen in the past couple of months more people are using Facebook campaigns to promote books,
Yeah.
which I don't remember that being as frequent a couple of years ago, even though the prices might have been less expensive back then for advertising to
Right.
advertise a book. But I mean, you got people with 99-cent ebooks that need to be promoted somehow,
Hmm.
to 249, whatever their price is. How can you, or can you, or is it even possible to run a Facebook campaign when your prices of your book are so low? What's the correlation there? How can you use Facebook advertising as an author?
Sure. So, the obviously we're putting a lot of, and there's a lot of investment in the book, and there's a lot of investment in promoting the book. Don't be jealous, but I'm going on other podcasts and promoting the book.
Absolutely, of course you are.
I'm running Facebook campaigns, and so here's the thing. This really is what allows authors to do this. Very few authors are going to have runaway bestsellers. But many authors are going to make a very good living because they know how to monetize the book. So obviously, Marty, on the back end of this, I offer coaching. I talked about that. So if you get the book, you're going to hear from me. I'm going to give you a lot for free. I mean, you're going to pay $25 for the book, and you're going to get a ton of value. And you may never pay me another dime, and I'm okay with that. But I do know that's based on experience that other people will say, I want more. I want more focused attention. So we have a course that goes along with the book, and it's, we've got $1,000, $2,000 course. I offer $5,000 workshops, where you can immerse yourself and work alongside me in a small group and get big wins. So I'm able to invest in this, and I'm willing to invest in this because I have the ability to monetize it on the back end. So a lot of business books, a lot of nonfiction books, the successful authors will invest a lot of money up front to do something like this because they have a payoff on the back end. And I don't think we should be shy about that. It's maybe a tougher road for a fictional author. I've worked with a couple fictional authors in the past who were willing to kind of invest without a bunch of return just because they wanted to get their book sales up. So I would say, you really needed the ability to monetize it on the back end, to invest heavily in paid advertising to get your book out.
Okay. And not worry so much about one click value versus how many books I sold, because there's
Right,
more.
right.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the royalties alone are not going to pay for my daughter's college tuition.
Right.
Right.
That's
But,
so cool.
and honestly, look, yes, I want to sell a lot of books, and obviously I want to help. The more books that I sell, Marty, the more people I get to help, and those are lives that are affected. I really see a book like this. There's a lot of people that'll be much younger than me who pick up this book and develop a career. There's a testimonial in the book from a guy named Sam who went to one of my workshops. Really couldn't afford to be there, but he learned the skill of Facebook advertising, started doing freelance work, and now he's basically making a living doing Facebook ads for clients because he got really good at what I teach in the workshop, which is exactly what's in the book. So to me, that's a win. So when I see one of, here, I'll give you a quick memory if we can go over a little bit.
Absolutely.
One of my first players when I started coaching high school basketball, he was my point guard. I fell in love with the kid. He was just a basketball savant. I got to coach against him last season. He kicked my ass. All right, he had a way better team than me, but that was the happiest loss I ever had because here's one of the kids that just really took to what I was doing and wanted to do it himself. And he's doing I won't say he's doing a better job, but that night he really got me. He's got a way better team, but to be able to hug him before the game and to take a picture and just have him say, "Hey, thanks, coach, for everything." Like, if somebody comes back to me, Marty, and says, "I read this book and I started a job. I was able to quit a day job. I was able to make more money." Like, man, that would mean the world to me.
Yeah, well, that is going to happen many, many times over. I can tell just by the genuineness that you're sharing, your authenticity that you're sharing with all this advice today. This has really been a treat. So, okay, I'm going to say thank you to you now. If there's any last sentence you want to provide listeners or viewers, and then I'm going to give a little pitch for next week's show.
Hey, it was a pleasure. Marty, you and I just got to know each other. We've got a lot in common, so I'm looking forward to our developing relationship over the years. And thank you for anyone who spent the time to listen to me, and hopefully you got some value out of it. And obviously you can see the passion Marty has. So I would definitely listen to what Marty has coming up next, because it's probably pretty good.
Oh, it is indeed, and it's all in a sequence too, which is interesting, to assemble a sequence of how I want to deliver content to people I'm connected with. So one last time, the 4th edition of the Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising launches October 27th. Can they pre-order that right now?
You can absolutely pre-order. I would value that. So if you're listening live, yeah, get a pre-order. You might be able to get it even early. So yeah, absolutely.
Don't even think about just, I'll get that in a week or so. No,
go get it now.
Now, go pre-order, get it done. Absolutely, it's one of those must-have books. So I'm glad we got that out there. So thanks again for being with us. Well done. So next week we have Marie Incontrera. We'll get the spelling out to you on that one a little later, but she is the first person I've ever known to have a guaranteed, now that's the important word there, a guaranteed process for getting you to be a guest on podcast shows, just like this one. Just like this one's going to be. It's not technically a podcast yet, but in the next couple of weeks, it's going to migrate into that, and then we'll be famous.
Insider secret, Marty.
What's that?
I'm a client of hers.
Oh, you are? Oh,
I am absolutely a client of hers. She is fantastic.
No.
She definitely is delivering on her promise. Now, she didn't connect us. We got to know each other. But no, I'm extremely happy, and I'm very early in the process. So definitely, what a guest. She's fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. So if you are looking for how to get your message out there to the world and join it with your Facebook advertising campaign, can you imagine? I mean, if you want to just skyrocket your business in a short amount of time, put those two things together and you will have a rockin' recipe there. So we hope to see you next week on Positive People Progressing. Remember, you become who you hang around. This is Marty Dickinson with Bob Regnerus. Stay positive out there, everybody.